All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to How to Develop Your Powerful Personal Brand with none other than the fabulous Sarah Wallace. Now, listen, if you've been around here, you know how excited I have been to share this with you because, my friends, Sarah is awesome. And I know that personally, and so I knew I had to bring her on to share with you some of her expertise. So we are going to get started right away as soon as I tell you a little bit more about why she is awesome. So Sarah is a personal branding expert who walked away from a lucrative six-figure job in corporate in order to help people just like you to develop your own personal brand so that you can build an influential image online, get noticed by your ideal clients, and score some PR opportunities. How great is that, right? And today she is here to share with us all about that. She is going to talk to us about the surprising social media strategy that she's been using to easily land high-end clients. She's going to give us some really practical tips. She's going to talk about exactly how to create a personal brand that gets noticed by your peeps, so you're leveraging the power of social media instead of wasting your time scrolling or watching all the people you could be helping scroll right by your stuff, right? Worst thing ever. And she's just celebrated a year out of that corporate job. And so we are going to hear from her about her biggest lessons, her real raw truth about what it takes to make it as an entrepreneur in that first year of business, and how you can apply that to your own business journey too. Sarah is a dear friend and client, and someone I've known for years now. And so I could not be more excited to share her with all of you. Welcome, Sarah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if anybody else are like J-Lo diehard fans, but I told Christine before we got on here, I was like, I watched the YouTube video that J-Lo posted on her Instagram feed earlier this week about like her getting ready for the premiere of Hustlers. And I was like, Christine is making me feel that way a little bit with this interview. So like, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk with you and your community. This is one of my favorite things in the world to talk about. So
I love it.
I'm happy to be here.
That's why you do it for your business, right?
Yes, it makes sense.
So let's just get started and dive in and talk about some tangible tips around the surprising social media strategy that you were telling me about that's actually been getting you high-end clients, and how you're doing that, what's working for you, and how we can take that right now and use it to go out and get our own clients. Fill us in.
Yes. Okay. So you know, but for other people who may not know, I love Instagram. It is my favorite thing, another one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. However, I've also been playing around with LinkedIn the last few months, and I have had a lot of success with LinkedIn getting, like Christine said, some higher I don't want to say caliber, but just higher paying clients. And I think it's because people are on LinkedIn to do business. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them have jobs currently. They are getting paid a great thing. So, giving you whatever rate you're charging or asking them to invest in, that's not really a big conversation anymore. It's just getting them to notice you and kind of positioning your value and understanding what they need. So I wanted to chat a little bit about LinkedIn specifically because it can be kind of boring, I think, for some people who like love Instagram.
Like you.
Like, wah, wah, wah. Yes. Now I'm going to tell you something, and it works. Okay. What I'm going to tell you like works. So you just have to be careful that like you're attracting the client that you actually want to work with. I think we're going to get into some pen and paper. You're going to get into some of my mistakes.
So you're saying use it wisely is what you're saying.
Use it wisely because we'll talk about this later. But yeah, you might end up attracting people you think you want to work with, and then you really may not. So one of the biggest things is just to and your people are, I know a lot of them are starting out or maybe still in their 9 to 5. And so maybe it feels like, well, I don't want to be public with like the people that I work with about what I'm passionate about talking about. Right now, that doesn't matter. Right now, you just want to start showing up and positioning yourself as an expert, because a year from now, it doesn't matter if you decide to pivot and talk about something completely different, or talk about something, but now you're running your own coaching business or whatever it might be. But you've had all this time to build yourself up as an authority, as kind of a go-to in your space. And so here's what I want to offer as the easiest way to get started. If you're like, oh my gosh, I do not feel like writing another caption, I don't know what to even say on LinkedIn, what I would do is, and especially, again, if you're trying to kind of balance like your 9 to 5 and your side hustle, like I know a lot of people, it's a little easier to talk more openly on Instagram because it's people you don't know a lot of times. It's not people you're working with. LinkedIn is very different. So what I would recommend is just start following hashtags in LinkedIn around topics that you like and jump in the conversation. And this is awesome, and I would recommend this for Instagram too, for the simple fact that you're engaging in that whole, if you want people to engage with you, you have to engage with them. But also on LinkedIn specifically, they treat comments like content. And here's what I mean. So if you are in your LinkedIn profile, you probably see Christine McAllister liked this, Sarah Wallace commented on this. And so you're showing up to your network that like you're active, like you're engaged, you're sharing comments. And then new people, so like their second or sometimes third connections are noticing you in the feed. And I can't tell you how many awesome people I have connected with who have either seen a comment that I've shared or like I've responded saying something to them. And so it's a way to get noticed by people outside of your network too. And that's important for you folks who, want to continue to grow your audience as you build your own business down the road. Does that make sense so far?
Yes. Can you walk us through a specific, like, I followed this hashtag, and then when I show up and engage with people, it looks like this. Can you give us an example?
Yes. Okay. So for example, I'll follow hashtag personal brand. And I will, and this is how I got on one of my podcast episodes, actually. So you can use it for clients, PR opportunities, but so I'll follow hashtag personal brands, and I'm going to talk to you about hashtags on LinkedIn in a second too. But and then I'll go in and like, I want to say like, oh, every day I do it. Regularly, a couple times a week, I'll spend 15 minutes or so in this specific hashtag or hashtag social media, whatever. So you go in here and you want to be genuine about it, right? So if something like, I don't like that, or that doesn't really jump at me or whatever, I just scroll past. But if somebody genuinely shares something, I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I totally agree with that tip. Or if they ask a question, it's another reason why it's important to ask questions in your captions. When you are sharing your own captions, but you can respond to a question like, what do you guys think? Or what's been a tip that's worked for you? And that gives you a great opportunity to kind of showcase just a little insight into how much you already know by providing one little tip, which is super valuable. And then you're going to write, hashtag tip number 1 or whatever in that comment. You scroll down a little bit more, find something else, hashtag whatever, write another comment about it. And then again, you're showing up in your feed, and
so
then
you put a hashtag in the comment.
That was a bad one because I talk about hashtags, but you don't have to put hashtags in the comment. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
You don't have to. But people will. But people will see your comments that are following that person, especially if it's a bigger name and who's somebody who might get 40 or 50 comments. Like, I don't know about you, but like I do look at comments on LinkedIn and like I'll like comments, and I see that more and more people doing that. So this is just a way to engage, connect with new people that you may not even know of, and also to kind of get a temperature on like what's going on in the area of interest that you're into. Okay. What are people saying about it?
Okay. And then walk us through the rest of that. Like, how has that led to podcast opportunities for you, clients for you? Like, what happens from there?
Okay. So somebody will notice your comments if they're interested, or like, hey, and a lot of people are very like social, very open. Again, it's not spammy at all on LinkedIn. And so I saw a guy reach out or had posted something about personal branding, and I looked at his profile and I was like, oh my gosh, he has a podcast on personal branding. So I made sure to like comment, kind of follow along with him. And then he had posted something in one of his posts, and so I directly messaged him and offered a topic that I could talk about. And he's like, oh yeah, I've seen you, I've checked out your face. So we kind of already knew each other in an internet kind of way. So that was a much easier connection than just like, hey, you've never seen me before, I've given you nothing, have me on your podcast. We've kind of built a little relationship via the internet.
Cool. What I love so much about that is that it's just, it's what I think we talk about so much in business, which is that it's just about people. It's just about people, like people buying from people. It's not any harder or weirder than that. But what you're doing is you're giving us a very specific strategy within a very specific platform to easily connect with other people, like taking the mystery out of how the heck do I connect with real live people on LinkedIn in a way that feels good and not spammy. I love that.
Yes. And it can be so fun. And you might open up to like referrals. Not everybody is going to be a future client, right? But you might have referrals, speaking. Like I just got asked, I've actually had 2 speaking invitations because of LinkedIn. I know, it's so cool. It's so cool. But it's just a matter of showing up, and I'm not saying anything groundbreaking, but it's showing up, because let me tell you, and I meant to have this stat for you, Christine, and your folks, but I don't have it, but it's something like there's 500 million people on LinkedIn, and only 3 million of them are actually sharing content. So it is just a wide open opportunity to really position yourself as leader. As an expert, and kind of start to get your name out there. So it is just a tip. It is just like a strategy. There's lots of things that need to happen before that, but it's something to play around with and kind of see how it feels to you and what works for your own strategy.
I love that. And I love that you said, I'm only spending 15 minutes a couple times a week per hashtag. So for those of us who are like, hey, I think I want to try this out, how many hashtags do you recommend we identify and follow, engage with to start?
I'd say like 3. Start with 3. Play with that. Like I have a lot that I follow, but I don't engage with all of them all the time, every day. Some of them, it's just like, again, going back to like kind of market research. I want to know what people are saying more so than like want to jump in that conversation. But for the purposes of this, just find 3 that are interesting, where some cool conversations are happening that you would want to jump in and feel good about adding value to.
That's a great tip too, is that it's an easy way to see what people are talking about for market research, what they're talking about. And I know one thing I talk with my clients a lot about is like, how are they talking about it? You probably think and probably use different words when you are an expert in an area than when you are just trying to solve a problem for yourself, right? So your ideal client is probably thinking and talking and laying awake, thinking words that like are different than the ones you're likely using in your head. But the reason they're going to notice you is if you use the words they're already thinking, and it's like you're reading their mind, right?
Totally. So an example of that is I started using the word stakeholders on LinkedIn, and investors, like I threw that in there because when I'm talking about the benefits of building a personal brand, because it's not always just getting new clients. It's for the people that I want to reach. I've seen them use the word stakeholders. We want to, attract, we want to be able to get money for round 3 from investors. And so then you can kind of tie in some of those words that I would have never thought to use.
Yeah, beautiful. Like, I don't see you walking around being like, oh, a stakeholder, right? But like, that's a beautiful example of noticing how your clients are talking about it and then reflecting that back to them so that they feel like you're in their head and they're willing to let you help them. Another question about this, have you noticed any difference in connection or the value of connecting with people who are local versus non-local on LinkedIn?
I haven't. And I feel like I don't know where I picked this up from, and maybe I don't know if this is a good tip, so just cut me off if you're like, don't say this, Sarah, but I even if people are local and want to meet in person, I have stopped having coffee dates because unless I know exactly what that person wants, because it can just be kind of time consuming to drive there, drive back, 100%. Like you're at the wrong coffee shop. I mean, it's just like whatever. Yes. So for that reason, it doesn't matter. But if you get to talking and you're like, oh my God, I love this person, then maybe they have a local event you could speak at. Yeah.
Totally. And you never know where those connections are going to lead. I mean, I think that, I just got to meet somebody whose podcast I was on last year, and she came into town for a convention. And so I went downtown and had lunch with her because we've been talking for a year, right? But I think sometimes there's that myth that like, oh, well, if you're in the same town, you quote unquote should get together. But let's face it, you and I are both moms. We work from home. We spend a lot of our time in workout clothes, and it's an effort to get dressed and done. And we want to protect that, right? We want to batch our time and make it the most useful for the greatest number of people that we want to help. And so I love that you're doing that. Like, because I personally know you're an extrovert, right? Like we geek out on the Myers-Briggs Enneagram. You're an extrovert. Everybody knows I'm an INFJ. I'm an introvert. But you're like life of the party, Sarah. So I love that you are identifying like, hey, even though I love people and I love being around people, like it feels more strategic to me to be able to like connect with people in this way.
Right. And then that way, especially for a first meeting, like if it makes sense to like get together for a second one, but sometimes it's like, well, what am I doing? Why have I given up 2 hours?
Yeah, exactly. Why did I do this to myself? There's so many other things I want to be doing.
For me, it is hard sometimes because sometimes I'd leave and be like, well, it just felt really good to like talk with somebody.
Yeah, totally.
But like I can get that in other ways now. So
yeah, that are maybe like more fun.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, I want to take a quick break and just welcome everyone who's joining us in our live studio audience. If you all don't know, this interview is going to become a part of a masterclass series that's going on YouTube, and then also is going to become a podcast. So the more questions that you can ask us, we're happy to answer those at the end. Drop them in the comments, but I do want to give a live shout out to Maria, to Jamie, to Melissa, to Hannah, and let's see, who else? Maria, Jamie, Melissa, Hannah. Hi, everyone. And Meryl. So good to see you all. I appreciate you so much. I know Sarah does too. And if you have questions that come up as we're talking, drop them in and we'll grab them when we take a break for questions. So Sarah, tell us a little bit more. I know you mentioned you wanted to talk about hashtags and other things on LinkedIn. Tell us a little bit more about these tips.
Yeah, okay. So the other thing on LinkedIn that I was going to share with you, and I have like all my notes here, is to use DMs. And I kind of already chatted a little bit about that, but DM, direct message people, and you can apply this strategy to any social media platform, but this is just a way to kind of get somebody to notice you, but also to have like a real connection, because sometimes and it has to be, again, it has to be genuine and it has to be specific, and you have to really mean it. So like, again, I won't do it every day. I maybe one person, 1 to 3 people, whenever you do make time to do this, like look at somebody else's profile. Like, what do you like about it? Could they be a compliment? Could they be a guest expert in your group at some point? Do you have a podcast that they could be partner with you on. It doesn't just have to be like, oh, this person would be a great client. Again, it's just how can you expand your reach, your network, because you never know who they know. And so direct messages have been one of my favorite ways, both on LinkedIn and Instagram, to connect with new people. And actually on Instagram, I've taken a step back from content creation and posting every single day and spending more time engaging and specifically sending direct messages to people who I want to know more about, or I feel like maybe I could help, or maybe I know somebody who could help them, or, again, it's just expanding your reach and doing it one by one, which takes longer, but so much more meaningful.
It's quality over quantity, right?
Exactly.
And I love that, because so many people are so focused on the number of followers or the whatever. And at the end of the day, like I just had somebody actually reach out to me on LinkedIn, a dude who knew me from way back, and said, hey, it doesn't seem like you get a lot of engagement on your social. But it also kind of seems like your business is doing well. What's up with that?
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
Kind of a backhanded compliment, but
yeah,
okay. I was like, well, here's the deal. Numbers don't matter, my friend, right? I was just reading anything from Pat Quinn, who said he knows somebody who had an email list of less than 200 who does 5-figure launches. Guess
I
what?
believe it.
If every one of those people is opening your emails and is the right person for you, they're going to buy your stuff.
Exactly. And that is like, I have a couple of rants that I tend to go on. I'm not going to do it here, but with people. And one of those lately has been around followers.
Yes.
Like that is a low quality question. How can I get more followers?
Yes.
And I've asked it. So you're not wrong for asking it. But a better question is like, how can I better serve the people that are already in my following? Because unless you're selling to 100% of your followers, there's still work to be done within that community, right?
Yes, connecting with people behind the scenes. And that is something you can do with DMs and PMs, even if you don't want to be actively out there, posting, engaging. If you're not comfortable with that yet, go just connect with people, right? Go DM them. Nobody else has to see that stuff.
Yes. And let me give you a good example of one that I just got last week from somebody else. They had sent me, and this is a Facebook one. Again, it doesn't matter what platform you're on. That's just the tool.
Yep.
But I had a guy reach out because we're in the same Facebook group. It's like a 50,000 Facebook group. It's like one of those. And this guy's brilliant. He reached out and said, hey, I saw that you're new to the group. Welcome. I noticed that you do personal branding. I would encourage you to get active in the group because I know a lot of people in here could use personal branding.
Oh my gosh.
Right? I was like,
so nice.
Wow, this guy's good. Yeah. Yeah. He's he's a Tony Robbins guy.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm sure he's this is like next level stuff.
Right.
But it was so good. And so I'm like, okay, he's being a connector.
Yes.
Giving me value. And not just hey, this is about my service, or I have a retreat. Are you interested in coming? Or it's how he's serving me. I mean, he doesn't even know me, and he got my attention because of that.
Yep. I love that. Such value in being a connector. If you're like, I don't want to be the face of everything and everywhere, be a connector. That's such a valid way to build a business,
Yeah.
Just be liked by people who will then refer back to you and everyone's happy, right?
Yes.
I love that. Okay. I know we can talk about this all day, but I want to make sure we get all three of these really important topics in. So secondly, I want you to give us your best tips on how to create a personal brand that gets noticed by your people so that you're leveraging the power of social media instead of wasting your time scrolling or other people scrolling by your stuff.
Okay. I want to give you guys some really super tangible things that you can take away. I do want to share one incredibly important tip, though, that I have learned from myself and from working with clients. And that is your personal brand actually starts with what you say to yourself. Because if you I don't have anything valuable to say. I don't like my voice I don't like the way I look on camera. I don't like my voice. I have grown men who don't want to do a video or don't even want to write a caption and put their opinion. People just want to reshare positive quotes and memes, and it can be scary. I think a lot of that, though, is what we're saying to ourselves.
Yes.
And I'm very guilty of that,
Yep.
being super mean.
Yep.
So I would just start before you jump into any tip, any tactic, decide on a platform, is just to like go a little woo-woo with yourself, and like maybe spend 30 minutes, maybe an hour, just like writing who do you want to be? Like if somebody saw you in an airport 3 years from now, what would you be doing? Where would you be going? What kind of luggage would you have? Who would you have with you? Would you be speaking at an event? What kind of music would you be listening to? And all that's kind of important, because that's the stuff that makes you you, and also is going to give you the confidence and help you visualize this like bigger version of yourself. Because sometimes, like when we're in our little cubicle in our 9-to-5s, I get it. Like you're like, I really don't have anything that profound to say. And nobody does, right? It's like everything's already been said. It's how you say it. And like Hannah, I think you said was on here. I just immediately think of her. She has these cute little bunnies, and she can make up all these cute little like fun, like she could talk about positiveness and life lessons through like many analogies, and she's going to stand out, right?
Yep.
But going back to just like talking to yourself better and nicer and kinder and honestly in a more powerful way, because it's uncomfortable to see someone else uncomfortable and like small and nervous, and we all absolutely get that way. But like for somebody to really receive your message and hear it and see you as the leader, you have to step into that. And I have so many stories about like almost throwing up, not being able to speak. If you can't do it right now, that's okay. Just start and practice, and you'll get better. So I'm kind of getting off topic, but the first thing is like getting clear to yourself, like who do you want to be?
I love
and that person is already inside of you. It's just getting that negative talk and those beliefs out of the way.
So you're future casting, right? You are envisioning yourself as the future you that you want to be. And by envisioning that, you're already beginning to like move toward it, right? Because then you're looking at that instead of like what you're currently sitting in and going, well, I don't like this and I don't like this and I want to be here, but I wish I was and I'm not, blah, 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 blah. And your brain's like, wow, now we're exhausted and depressed. So if you look at, like you said, you're in an airport, who are you with? What are you listening to? What are you wearing? You know, like all of that is like such a different energy and so much impossibility. And I know that so many people in here are like sensitive and feel deeply and all of that stuff. And so when you get yourself into that positive mental space, it's going to make a huge difference then in the actions that you're going to take and the way that you take those actions, which means they're going to work better. So now when you do that, then you're much more ready and primed for what Sarah's about to tell you next.
Exactly. Okay. And then the second level of this personal branding is, because a lot of people want to jump to step 3 that I'll talk about in just a second. But the second phase is understanding how you're going to say what you stand for, and understanding who exactly you want to hear that message. And right. So what I mean by this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but you attract like a lot of coaches, a lot of helpers.
Yep. Service providers. Yeah. People who want to help others. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there are a lot of coaches, right? Yep. There's a lot of coaches, and you could feel like, and I have felt this way. And by the way, everything that I'm saying, I have gone through. And some of it I'm still going through. So I've just learned some lessons and learned them more than once. But the thing that you have to remember is that nobody has your stories and your energy and the things that you love. And that formula makes you have a unique brand that nobody can ever copycat. And here's what I mean by that. And I'm a big advocate right now of like identifying your signature stories when you're talking about a personal brand. So that might be step 2. Mm-hmm. And Christine, you do you have your signature stories. And it's not just having your signature stories, but it's how does this story help the person that I'm trying to help? Like, how can I help build trust? How can they, know, like, and trust me better? And how can this resonate and potentially move them in some way? So that's kind of also what you want to think about.
Can you give us an example of that?
Yes. Okay. So, one of my stories is getting a text, like my dad being sick, getting a text message from my boss about why I didn't submit a time off request yet, and being frustrated, and that kind of being the moment where I was like, okay, I got to make a decision. And so I think we've all had those kind of like points in our life where we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated. Like, my boss is annoying me, or I don't like this situation. I keep complaining. And then it's like that kind of ties into how I could potentially help somebody. It's like, you got to do something, like make a change. I could have either griped about it and complained in that moment and just kept complaining for another 5 years, or decide to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that you could say, you could say that those last few sentences that I just said, right? But when you put a story behind it, it makes it more memorable, and it makes you stand out in your unique way.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so what's the third thing?
Okay, and then the third thing is like amplifying this brand that you've built. So you've kind of like designed it, you're building it, and now it's time to amplify it. And this is where like the tools and the tips and the nitty-gritty things come in. So one of the nitty-gritty things that I'll share with you as like a tangible tip is we could talk about hashtags, we could talk about captions, all this stuff, but I think that especially these platforms like Instagram are so visual that I'm a ginormous fan of getting branding photography done. And it doesn't have to be a professional photographer. It could be your husband. It could be your best friend. But the reason why I think this is so important when you're building a brand is, one, you feel confident about sharing photos, because most of the time we don't want to share a photo of ourselves. So if you have a whole library of photos that you dedicated time and energy to, you're going to feel a lot better and be more willing to share that photo of yourself. And people want to see you. I don't care what you think. I guarantee it. People want to see you. We want to connect with other people, right? So that's one. The second one is that it just kind of, it elevates, it kind of shows off your uniqueness if you're doing this branding photo shoot in the right way, which means wearing clothes that you actually wear, doing things that you actually do, not renting like a Maserati and like being in like with your Chanel purse, and that's not who you really are, right? But these photos can, like, I don't know if Tabitha is on here, but she's somebody who comes to mind, Tabitha. Right. She just had a photo shoot done a couple weeks ago with her dogs and her husband. And like, that's so reflective of her. And I'm like, oh, I feel like I know her more.
Yep.
So that's another benefit. And, a photographer, I don't know, it could be $200 to $400 depending on how much it is. I see that as an investment, because not only does it give you the two benefits that I just mentioned, but it also saves you time, because then you have a library that you just pull from, and you're not like, oh, I got to get my makeup on. I got to get my ring light out. Let me take a selfie or try and do something cute. You got it. So it actually saves a ton of time.
Love it. I love it. Beautiful. Anything else on, I know that, well, let me just say this. This is super high level, right? Sarah's giving us some of her best tips, but obviously we don't have the space for her to teach us everything that she teaches her clients in this one training. So we're going to give you a chance to connect with her further. And obviously she's somebody who like lives to help people like you with your personal brand stuff. So if you're digging this stuff, I'm going to highly recommend you connect with her if you need her help. But with that said, we want to make sure that we give you like the best stuff, that what we promised. And so anything else you want to add around that, Sarah?
I think it's just to get started. So like whatever platform you feel comfortable doing, like I would tonight, like if you aren't already, or if you've only been kind of messing around with it, just tonight start thinking about, what do you stand for? Who do you stand for? What do you want to be known for? And then start putting out content on whatever platform you feel comfortable doing. It's free. It's easy. And the only way to get noticed is to get out there, and it doesn't happen overnight. It only happens over time. These things that I talked about, where people are reaching out to me about podcasts and potential speaking engagements, I've been doing that. What month is it? September. So like January, I started, and I crickets, right, for months and months and months.
Yes.
But it's compounding. So my advice would just be to start, and people are watching. They are watching you. They see you, even if they don't like something, even if they don't comment. I guarantee they see you showing up.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for mentioning that. I love it. Okay. So third, I am so excited to hear about your biggest lessons, your takeaways, your ahas from quitting your job, from your first year out of your 9-to-5, because we were celebrating that a year ago.
I know.
And
it's so great.
It's amazing. And I know you have accomplished so many things and have helped so many people in the last year of running your own business. So fill us in.
Okay, so I have a couple of lessons learned that I wrote down, and I want to be very transparent. So one of the things, and Christine knows a lot of this because I've worked with Christine, and that would be one of my takeaways too. But I'll get to that in a moment. But I think the biggest thing that I'm going through in this very moment, like the biggest lesson, is that I don't need to learn anything else. I don't need to learn any other marketing strategy. I don't need to learn how to do Facebook Messenger bots. I don't know how to, literally, like, I have a post to go out tomorrow about how I found myself working more. And I worked a lot before. Checking my phone more. And ignoring the people right in front of my face, my son being one of them, having my phone on me constantly, and doing work that I actually didn't like because I was letting my ego get in the way of, like, this person had a specific title or did something really cool. Okay. And I was like, oh my God, he wants to work with me, she wants to work with me.
Yeah.
Oh, like, I don't have that as an offer, but like, I'll make something up for you. Yep. And that caused a lot of stress, right? Because I was very, very much out of alignment. And I've had to learn that lesson a couple times. And so I think it's just to be aware that whatever you do, whatever you leave your job for, or start a side hustle for, is going to look very different than what it does a year from now, right? Yeah. And just to know that, like, you're going to mess up, you're going to make mistakes. It may not be like, oh my God, I'm so passionate. I just have this fire purpose coming from my soul, and I cannot wait to get out of bed. Like, that's what I was envisioning when I left my job. To be very honest, like, that doesn't happen a lot. And part of it is because I'm learning these hard lessons of unlearning things, right? Unlearning my value, unlearning just so many things around self-worth and money and my time, and like the coffee date thing is just one of those examples of a change I've made. So I'm like, I feel like my dad used to be a preacher, and sometimes I feel like I go into like preacher mode. So reel me back in, Christine. But I think it's just, the lesson is to be aware of that, and to also maybe learn from some of my mistakes, and just kind of check in more often about, like, is this aligned with what I said I want to do? Is this aligned with my why? And if you get off track with your why, that's okay. Just like get back on it. But just check in with yourself, because you don't want to create another situation that you don't like.
Totally.
You just like that situation, right?
Totally. And I think I see that a lot, where our brains are always want to get back to same, right? To get back to homeostasis, and safe is same to our brains, right? Even if it sucks. So if we are just kind of flailing around, like unconsciously, we're probably going to get back to a place where we have created a business that feels about the same as we did in our 9-to-5. And I've been through that. I went through that with my first business where I totally burned out because I just was like, I have to work all the time and I have to accomplish this and I got to be on all the time. I was like, what the heck am I doing this for? I might as well go back to my 9-to-5 job, right? So like you said, it's unlearning, the way we thought it had to be. And that takes conscious work, and that takes being called out, and that takes, support sometimes. And it takes more than just like learning all the things and all the strategies, right? Is what I think you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. It's not a strategy thing. It's not at all. It's just about, and I think you and I think your people will appreciate this, but it is like taking time to go in, because I'm so heady. I'm so like I want to get it perfect, and I don't listen to myself. And like sitting quietly and meditating sounds like a ginormous waste of time.
Yeah, totally.
Right? I tell you though, guys, oh my gosh, ladies, I've really been a lot more disciplined about that. We throw around the word self-care, but I really think that talking nicely to yourself, giving yourself space, that's really self-care. And so I have gotten into like a pretty regular meditation practice. I say, I love you to myself. I say, I look awesome today. You're awesome. You're capable. You're like, I'm so blissed out. I'm elated. Just try and say some of those things, because especially when in this type of work, this online world, you're kind of by yourself sometimes. So that's the benefit of having a coach or a group program where other people are kind of in the same area. But yeah, it's just unlearning, like you said.
We all always are. I mean, I didn't learn these lessons about accepting myself and loving myself until much later. And I was taking Fee to school this morning, and I was like, how about you repeat after me? I love myself. I'm awesome. And she's like, I love myself. I love myself. And I was like, this is great, right? And also I need to say it to myself,
Yes. Oh my God. So I'm listening to this video on YouTube or something where the guy's like, I am enough. Repeat after me. I am enough. I am free. And Isaiah's listening to it. And now he's always like, I am free. I am enough.
Yes.
That's great for them. Yeah. Maybe they'll learn
it
so
much more open to it. They have so many less years of like learning the opposite to undo, right? That's fantastic. I am enough.
I know. My mom was like, he keeps saying he's free. What does this mean?
That's excellent. Like, what's
like
happening?
You've been listening to some.
Was there some point at which he was not free? Like, and now he's excited to be free?
I know.
What are you telling my grandson? Amazing.
Oh my God.
Okay, what else?
Let's see. I think the other big thing is that I did, and this kind of ties into what we just talked about, but I did do all the courses. Are your people, they're into courses, right? Like self-help book.
Yeah, you all can tell us. I think we're all pretty big readers, podcast listeners, course takers. We want to know all the things.
Yeah.
I think that's going to make us successful.
Me too. Like Amy Porterfield, Neil Patel. I did Grant Cardone sales. I mean, I have like spent thousands of dollars, not just in the last year, but just over this time period, right? So, but guess what? I didn't really do anything until last year, or until a year and a half before that, right? When I reached out to Christine. So, I think that there is a lot of there's a lot of noise and a lot of like, oh, this is the new email. This is TikTok is the new Instagram. Like, should I be on TikTok? Should I start a podcast? Should I start a YouTube channel? Pinterest, like so many things, right? Yeah, Snapchat. Like, should I be on that? Like, do I need to be on Slack in some way? Like, I mean, there's just like all the things, right? So like your group, I have no doubt, are like super smart, super savvy women. Like, we know the answers. They're already inside of us. But we have like these limiting beliefs that keep them stuck. And also we have these outside like list of shoulds that come in, and when we kind of maybe we feel drawn to something, but we're like, oh well, Amy Porterfield said to do it this way though.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna do it this way, and then you just continue to circle and circle and be perfect and be perfect. So I will say, like, spending money to invest in a coach or a small group or whatever it may be is an investment, and depending on where you're at, it could be like a scary investment. I took a big leap of faith because I was sick of spending money on courses, and like I was so confused, I was so overwhelmed, and I still get that way a little bit now, but like reaching out for help would just be like my other tip, no matter where you are. If you're thinking about quitting, if you've already quit, I think it's always great to have somebody, like Christine always tells me, that can help you see inside your own jar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And it is scary, right? I mean, it feels so much safer to like join a bunch of group programs or courses and they all promise that like their thing is going to blow you up because they have this percentage of, they put so many people through it. So they have a percentage of testimonials that it really worked for. And I think that one thing that like, I really want to call out is like, we're all pretty unique individuals. Like you said, the thing about your personal brand is that nobody else has your story. Nobody else can compete with you because nobody else has your particular combination of experiences, whether it's that you have bunnies, whether it's that you have a son who's your son's age, whether it's that you have like fabulous strawberry blonde, long, thick hair like you do. I mean, this whole like unique combination, and you love leopard print, right? Like the whole unique combination of things that makes you is something that literally renders the competition irrelevant. But we have some really amazing people or really amazing marketers who are great at convincing us that if we just do it their way, then our success is inevitable. But here's the thing, like I've noticed this for myself. So if my personality is less than 1% of the population, that means most courses and programs, they ain't created for peeps like me, right? They're created for somebody with a totally different personality, a totally different way of wanting to do business, right? Maybe it's somebody who has 40, 60, 80 hours a week to devote to their business. Guess what? That's not me, right? So like, I think that, when you're thinking about it, you need to ask yourself, like, what's the quickest way for me to move forward? And how am I going to design something that really gets me out of my own way, but that also creates a business that's like completely custom to me and how I want my life to look, rather than someone else saying, we'll just do this one strategy. And then somehow on the other side, it'll all work out. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I 100% am on that train. Because like I said, I really believe that we already, like every single dilemma, every single thing that we're indecisive right now, circling that cul-de-sac of indecisiveness, we really already know the answer. If we were just to sit still, just to be quiet, and to not let anything on the outside influence us, and maybe even to bring in help for somebody to ask us those high-level questions so that we can bring out the answer inside of us. And those are the type of people that I'm really being drawn to right now. It's not the people that are telling me what to do. It's the people who are asking really great questions that get me to think about myself. So I'll give you an example. So Christine, you know this too, like there are offers that I created that I hoped nobody would buy because I didn't want to do them. And right, like that's so ridiculous. Like sounds absurd. Like let me know though if that's ever, I don't think I'm the only one. But let me know. But and it's because I saw it somewhere else. I'm like, oh, somebody else is doing this offer this way. Yes. I'm like, oh, I need to do it. And because I'm like, I guess I don't know what I'm doing, which we all need to banish that from our vocabulary because we do know what we're doing. But it's like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to follow this. And then I'm like, I hate this offer. I hate this. And then it's like you join like these big name programs and they teach you how to do a course or a membership. And, parts of that sounds exciting, but when we're doing this ourselves, we have the opportunity, the big wide open, like Montana sky, to create it however we want to. And there might be a way to do it that nobody's ever thought about. But if we don't take time to like shut that stuff off for even just a little bit, like I'm not trashing personal development or marketing help by any means, but I've had this conversation more than one person. Well, they'll listen to podcasts going to the gym. They'll listen to marketing podcasts, taking a relaxing bubble bath, and actually get more stressed out because they realize, oh my God, I'm not doing any of this stuff. So we constantly want to be productive.
Yes,
like literally, yes. I talked to this girl and she was like, I was in the shower and I couldn't really hear this podcast. I was just trying to be productive. So I was like hanging my head out the shower to like try and hear. I was like, okay, that's when you know. That's when you know. You gotta shut it off. So again, we already know it's just hard not to get caught up in all the list of opportunities, but just listening to yourself and like what feels aligned with what you want to do and how you want to do it.
Right. And I think honestly that like in my own journey, for my clients' journeys, like part of that even just it starts with figuring out even what that is. Because I think a lot of times when we're at the beginning, like, and I don't know if you can remember where you were, if this feels true for where you were a year ago, you had no idea maybe what you wanted. A lot of people don't. They're just like, I want to be free. I want to help people. I want to be free. And so sometimes we don't even have enough self-knowledge when we're starting to go, is this in alignment with what I want? We just don't know ourselves that well. Right. And so I think it's even that piece of like getting to know yourself really well, whether it's like, hiring someone to help you, or whether it's having some real honest conversations with people who can honestly reflect that back to you. But like, that's where it has to start, right? It's the 3 Ps. I call them, right? Personality, preferences, and passions. If you don't already have those established, you can't line up anything to them, right? So it's sort of that exploration process that has to come first before you sit and go, okay, does this line up with my thing? What are my answers inside of me, right?
So good. Yes, because having some of these experiences have brought me to where I'm at now and having clarity. Yes. I didn't leave this job with this clarity, right? Because you don't know sometimes, right? It's been how much time do we spend doing things that we don't want to do for the next step that we don't actually want to do? Yes. Like volunteering for something we don't want to do just so we can write it on our resume, so that we can get into this college, so that we can get into this job that like we don't even want. So we don't know what we don't know what we want as clear as maybe we would like, because we've never given ourselves the space or the time to like explore those things. Yeah.
I love your encouragement to do that. And obviously, Sarah, I could talk to you all day, but I want to give people a chance to connect with you. So tell everyone where they can find you if they want to follow you, they want to learn more about you, how you're doing things on LinkedIn, how you're doing things on Instagram, how you can help them with their personal brand.
Okay, so yes, I do connect with me on LinkedIn, but my favorite is Instagram. It's just more fun. So my Instagram handle is sarahlyn.co.co. So I'd love to hang out with you over there. And then speaking of getting in alignment with offers, I'm going to be doing an Insta brand. It's a 21-day live training. So we're daily. So follow me there because I'm going to be sharing more about that, but I'm really excited. That's coming in October. I just don't have it all set up yet for this, but it's going to be about kind of what we've talked about. A lot of people are talking about how to get more followers, how to write captions, how to use hashtags, and those are important. What time of day to post? We could talk about that, or you could just Google it, right? But it's like none of that matters if you don't have these other foundational pieces in place. Feeling like you're worthy of being on a camera, understanding what you want to say and who you want to say it to. So that's what we're going to talk a lot about. So I'm excited, but I'd love to hang out. I'd love for you to say hello and share anything that you got from this that was helpful or meaningful in any way.
Yes, I love that. Go follow Sarah. And of course, if I can help you get clarity on getting out of the job, on growing your business, on those next steps to position you to start blowing up with that personal brand, please reach out to me on any of the platforms. I'm at LifeWPassion on Instagram. And of course, you can DM me there or PM me on Facebook. But I thank you so much, Sarah, for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. Can I just say one more thing?
Of course.
Along the same lines. Okay, so I don't know if we like made it super clear, but I have worked with Christine in the past, and I just want to share like this word of encouragement to anybody who feels like they don't know what they want to do. So when I reached out to Christine, I didn't know, and I thought I wanted to be an interior designer, and she just was like, "Well, go design something." And like, how simple is that, right? But we like, I was like trying to create these packages, like how would I like get to the jobs and all these stuff. And so it does really help to have somebody like Christine to just like reflect, like ask you those high level questions, and then just give you the encouragement to take action and try it, because you're either going to love it and you're going to keep doing more of it, or find something you need to tweak, or you're going to be like, didn't like that, and then you can cross it off your list, you can get it out of your brain, and you can like focus on something else. So I would just very much encourage you that if you don't know, like, you're totally fine. Clarity comes from action, and it's scary, so it's sometimes nice just to have like a partner to be like, you can do this, and ask you those really great questions to like get you to step out and do those things. So
beautiful. Thank you. All right. And I just want to add here at the end, thank you all again so much for joining us. Feel free to drop your questions in the comments on the Facebook thread. Thank you. Ashley says, you're awesome, Sarah. Tabitha was here and she says, hey. So thank you all so much for being here. I will drop Sarah's Instagram handle in the comments, a link to follow her and connect with her. Make sure that you do that. And we look forward to hearing your thoughts, questions, feedback, and helping you get answers to those.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Christine.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.